The story opens with a mother of three explaining to her children why their religion does not allow them to celebrate Halloween. So, every time someone knocks on their door asking for candy, the family has no choice but to turn them away as politely as they can. Even so, many of the visitors still mock their beliefs. That same night, two prisoners are secretly trying to escape by sabotaging the air vent in their cell wall. They learned about this route from an older inmate, and apparently none of the guards ever noticed this weak spot in the prison. Luck is on Butch and Terry's side. After making it out of the building, they spot a guard getting ready to leave in his car. They quickly take him hostage and force him at gunpoint to drive them out of the prison. The truth is, Butch and Terry cannot stand each other. Their personalities are complete opposites. So the moment they reach a residential area, Butch tells Terry to find another car as soon as possible so they can go their separate ways. But instead of listening, Terry gives in to his impulses and sneaks into the same house we saw earlier. Unfortunately, there is no adult man in the house, and that only makes Terry even bolder as he moves in to rob the family. Butch is disgusted by Terry's behavior and immediately beats him down. During the scuffle, Terry's gun lands right in front of the homeowner's son, a boy named Phillips. But instead of grabbing it himself, Butch starts showing the boy how to use a gun against a criminal. Honestly, he seems impressed by the courage Phillips showed when he tried to protect his mother. But while the two are caught up in this strange little moment, a man suddenly shows up. To stop the family from firing back, Butch is forced to take Phillips hostage and kidnap him. And just like that, a child is pulled into a world he was never meant to see. This is a perfect world.
A perfect world.
News of Butch and Terry's escape quickly reaches the governor. That is why he sends in a criminologist named Sally to help the police track them down. Still, her presence is not taken seriously by the detectives, especially by the police chief himself, Red. Instead of wasting time on theories, Red believes they should head straight into the field. As it happens, the governor recently donated a mobile command unit, basically a caravan that can be used as a traveling headquarters. And since this case involves the kidnapping of a child, the government also assigns an FBI agent to join the operation. Meanwhile, Terry keeps acting reckless throughout their escape. Even though he is still a wanted fugitive, he carelessly fires shots all over the place like he has nothing to worry about. Butch is clearly irritated by him, but he tries to stay patient because the plan is to hide out at the house of one of Terry's relatives. Strangely enough, even though he has been kidnapped, Phillips seems completely calm. He even manages to chat with Butch, while the unstable Terry is busy trying to contact his cousin. Not long after, Terry returns to the car with bad news. He says he cannot reach his cousin, which basically means he is no longer useful for their escape. So when he starts acting tough again, Butch does not hesitate to beat him down.
That's a threat.
Soon after, Butch decides to stop at a small convenience store to grab some food and supplies. To keep Terry in line, he tells Phillips to watch him closely and even hands the boy a gun to point at him. But in reality, a weapon means nothing if the person holding it does not know how to use it, especially when that person is just a child like Phillips. With a simple trick, Terry manages to turn the situation around. But what he does not realize is that Butch is far more clever. The gun Phillips is holding has no bullets at all. Still, Terry is already furious and tries to attack Phillips, but the boy manages to escape just in time. Phillips runs toward a nearby field and hides among the short corn plants. In the chaos, he manages to injure Terry's ear and even take the gun. At the same moment, Butch comes out of the store, quickly reads the situation, and rushes into the field to find him. Thankfully, he reaches Phillips first. Moments later, Terry arrives, but this time Butch is ready. He points the gun straight at Terry and pulls the trigger. The gunshot draws the attention of the store clerk, but he freezes when he sees Butch holding the weapon. With the situation now under control, Butch no longer wants to keep Phillips as a hostage. Instead, he casually asks if the boy wants to keep going with him. Strangely enough, Phillips agrees and chooses to stay by his side. News of the shooting quickly reaches the police. Red and his team head toward the location, but Sally cannot help feeling confused by how directionless their approach seems. She believes they should be thinking ahead, especially considering the possibility that Butch and Terry might split up. In fact, she had already predicted this outcome earlier since the two men have completely opposite personalities. What makes things even more interesting is that test results show Butch has an intelligence level comparable to a professor. That means capturing him will require a carefully planned strategy. At first, Red dismisses this as nonsense. But once he arrives at the scene and sees Terry's body lying in the cornfield, he realizes he was wrong. Now the big question is where exactly Butch is heading. So far, their movements seem completely random. From the outside, it almost looks like Phillips is just being taken on a road trip across Texas by his father. And when asked, Butch simply says their current goal is to find a new car, but it has to be a specific brand. At first, Phillips refuses when Butch asks him to help steal the car. But Butch finds a way around it by turning the situation into a game. And like any kid, Phillips quickly gets excited by the challenge. His task is simple, just check if the owner left the keys inside. As they prepare to make their move, Phillips suddenly steps away to use the bathroom. Meanwhile, Butch approaches the target car. But instead of immediately stealing it, he takes a moment to grab some clothes hanging nearby. He wants to change out of his prison uniform. Unfortunately, this draws the attention of the property owner, who starts to realize something is wrong. The problem is, at this critical moment, Phillips is still not back. When they finally make their escape with the car, they almost get caught by the owner. But Phillips steps in and bites the man's hand, giving them just enough time to get away. That incident brings the two of them even closer. It is here that we learn Phillips was abandoned by his father when he was just 2 years old. Not because of death, but because of irresponsibility. Ironically, Butch went through the same thing as a child. In many ways, they share a similar past. Not long after, news of the car theft reaches the police. Once they realize the suspect has switched vehicles, Red insists on checking the previous car they used. At first, the decision seems pointless. The suspect is already long gone, so why go back? But Red has a strong feeling that the car might hold something important. When they open the trunk, they discover the body of the car's original owner. At the same time, Butch and Phillips stop by a clothing store. Since being kidnapped, Phillips has only been wearing his underwear. If things continue like this, they are bound to draw attention. So Butch decides to buy him proper clothes and shoes. Not long after, a sheriff passes through the area. The stolen car immediately catches his attention. Its bright yellow color makes it impossible to miss. Inside the store, tension begins to rise when the owner accidentally hears about Phillips being missing and prepares to call the police. So far, local police do not recognize Butch's face. All they know is that he escaped with an 8-year-old boy. To avoid suspicion, Butch first walks out of the store alone. But unfortunately, the police have already noticed him. Without hesitation, Butch crashes into a police car and makes a run for it. Inside the store, Phillips becomes fascinated by a Halloween costume. It seems he wants to experience what other kids enjoyed the night before. Unable to resist, he tries to steal the costume, but gets caught. Luckily, Butch arrives just in time and pulls him away. Even though he is a criminal himself, Butch still gives Phillips a bit of guidance, trying to keep him from going down the wrong path. Meanwhile, several police cars begin sweeping the area. But Butch already anticipated this. Instead of driving straight through, he had parked behind a warehouse earlier. Once the police pass by, they quietly continue their journey. The incident at the store leaves the police confused. From what they see, Phillips almost looks like he is cooperating with his kidnapper. Still, the people at headquarters try to stay positive, assuming the boy might be acting under pressure. To figure out where Butch might be heading, Sally starts explaining his background. He was born to a prostitute and raised in a brothel, far from a proper environment. At the age of 8, one of his mother's clients abused him. In that moment, Butch grabbed a weapon from a drawer and killed the man. His mother later took her own life when he was 12, leaving him completely lost. One of his early crimes was stealing a neighbor's car, not to run away, but just to drive around the neighborhood. Yet the judge handed down a harsh sentence and sent him to one of the most brutal prisons in Texas. That experience changed him completely. If you look closely, Butch has no real destination and no one waiting for him. Because of that, Sally believes he escaped simply to enjoy his freedom, with no clear plan for what comes next. That theory turns out to be wrong because Butch actually knows exactly where he is going. Strangely enough, during their journey, they end up crossing paths with Red's vehicle. They even exchange honks.
Okay, do it.
Mostly because Phillips has never seen a car like that before. Even from a brief glance, Sally is able to recognize both Butch and Phillips. Without wasting any time, they immediately begin the chase. But this is where things go terribly wrong. The driver of the caravan forgets that the vehicle is not built for high-speed pursuits, especially off the main road. Instead of catching their target, they end up crashing badly. The caravan veers off into the woods and gets stuck among the tall plants, along with the towing vehicle. Once again, luck seems to be on Butch's side. Butch actually plans to take Phillips all the way to Alaska. However, to get there, they need a different kind of vehicle since the route will be difficult. On top of that, they are running low on food and money, so he decides to rob a house along the way. To get Phillips to cooperate, he turns it into a game, making it feel like Halloween. Phillips is told to knock on the door and play along. The idea immediately excites him since he has always wanted to experience Halloween like other kids. Before long, they find a house. Phillips plays his part while Butch stands beside him, subtly showing his weapon. The homeowner quickly agrees to give them everything they ask for, from candy and food to some cash. To make sure she cannot call for help, Butch quietly disables the phone line. Even though the plan works, they end up with very little, just some bread and a bottle of mustard. Instead of complaining, they make the most of what they have. Not long after, Butch stops to check the road ahead. His instincts prove right as several police officers are already setting up a checkpoint. While he is focused on watching them, Phillips accidentally shifts the gear, causing the car to roll backward and nearly hit a group of people having a picnic nearby. Oddly enough, this moment gives Butch an idea. To get past the checkpoint, they hitch a ride in someone else's car. When they pass through, the police do not realize that the man and the child sitting in the back are actually Butch and Phillips. As they continue their journey, one of the children in the family they joined accidentally spills a drink. The mother reacts harshly, upset because the car is brand new. This frustrates Butch. He cannot understand how a parent could care more about an object than their own child's feelings. Annoyed by her reaction, he takes off with the car. Still, he leaves the family not far from the checkpoint so they can safely contact the police. News of this reaches Red and his team, but there is nothing they can do since their vehicle is still stuck in the woods. Meanwhile, the more time Butch spends with Phillips, the more he is surprised by the boy. Phillips admits he has never ridden a roller coaster or even tasted cotton candy. It feels like his childhood has been taken away from him. No wonder he seems happier staying with Butch than returning home. And in that moment, Butch decides to give him a small taste of that missing childhood. He ties Phillips onto the hood of the car and creates an experience that feels like riding a roller coaster. As night falls, they stop at a diner for dinner. Unexpectedly, the woman who owns the place becomes attracted to Butch. She is so drawn to him that she even invites him to spend the night with her. To make that happen, Butch has to send Phillips outside for a while. But the boy keeps coming back and peeking in, completely ruining any chance for Butch and the woman to get close. Most people would be annoyed by that, but not Butch. He simply laughs it off and takes it lightly. Since it is getting late, they decide to rest for the night. Butch parks the car in the middle of a cornfield, where the tall plants help hide them from the police. Even so, no matter how the day goes, a child will always miss his mother. Phillips admits that he wants to go home. Instead of getting angry, Butch promises that he will take him back later. Before that, though, he asks Phillips to start writing down all the things he has always dreamed of but never experienced. Simple things like eating cotton candy. Meanwhile, Sally uncovers an important detail. From the files she reviewed, she realizes that the man who arrested Butch 15 years ago was actually Red himself. From the very beginning, the head of the Texas police has known exactly who they are dealing with, but he has been pretending otherwise. Red is finally forced to reveal the truth. After Butch's mother died, custody was given to his father, a man known for heavy drinking and violent behavior. Concerned about Butch's future, Red convinced the judge to send him to a prison that was believed to rehabilitate inmates. The idea was that Butch would come out stronger and independent, without needing to return to his abusive father. Unfortunately, that decision turned out to be a huge mistake. Later that night, Butch and Phillips are startled when a man suddenly appears. At first, they think he is a police officer, but he turns out to be a farmer preparing to harvest his field. His name is Cooler. Surprised to find a car in the middle of his crops, he still feels sympathy for them and offers to let them stay at his house. The next morning, Red is picked up by his team, and they continue tracking Butch's escape route. Back at the farmhouse, Butch and Phillips are welcomed with breakfast. Phillips is especially happy since he gets to meet Cooler's son, Cliff. Butch spends some time playing with Cliff, but soon his attention shifts to a music player he has always wanted. Taking the opportunity, he puts on a cassette and even dances with Cliff's grandmother. Everything seems light and cheerful for a moment, but that moment does not last. While they are enjoying themselves, Cooler accidentally hears a radio report about Butch's escape, and just like that, their identities are exposed. Just as Butch is about to leave, Cliff still wants to keep playing with him. Seeing this, his father suddenly gets angry and starts hitting him again. That moment instantly triggers something inside Butch. Without realizing it, Cliff's situation reminds him of his own traumatic past, and he loses control. He beats Cooler and threatens him with a gun.
He didn't move fast enough for you? Is that it?
Trying to comfort Cliff, Butch goes back to playing with him. But to make sure the boy's father does not interfere, he tells Phillips to keep watch while pointing a gun at him. At this point, the situation becomes hard to explain. It feels like Butch is no longer in control of himself. Even his gentle side toward Phillips begins to fade. He forces Cooler to apologize to his son and swear that he will never hit him again. But even after Cooler obeys, Butch still is not satisfied. He grabs some ropes and ties Cooler's hands and feet, almost as if he is preparing to execute him. Cooler keeps begging for forgiveness, and even his mother pleads for mercy. But instead of calming down, Butch only gets more agitated. He even tapes their mouths shut. This terrifying scene finally pushes Phillips over the edge. In fear, he secretly picks up a gun from the floor and shoots Butch. Panicked, Phillips runs out of the house. He throws the gun into a well to make sure Butch cannot hurt anyone. He even takes the car keys and tosses them into the bushes to prevent Butch from escaping. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a reckless decision because Butch never intended to kill Cooler in the first place. In fact, before chasing after Phillips, he leaves his pocket knife on the table so the family can free themselves. Butch feels deeply guilty for scaring the boy. Even though he is badly injured, he still chases after Phillips into the field. Along the way, someone notices his blood-stained clothes and reports him to the police. He tries to convince Phillips that he never meant to hurt Cooler. He also admits that he has only ever killed 2 people in his life: the man who hurt his mother and Terry. From this, it becomes clear that Terry was the one responsible for the body found earlier in the trunk. With nowhere else to go, Phillips climbs up a tree and hides. Despite his injury, Butch keeps talking to him, trying to calm him down. Eventually, his apology reaches the boy. The truth is, Phillips did not run away out of fear, but because he felt guilty for what he had done. Surprisingly, Butch is not angry at all. In fact, he is proud of Phillips for taking action. Not long after, Red and his team finally arrive at the scene. There are many of them, but none dare to get too close, believing Butch would not hesitate to harm his hostage. So Red decides to try negotiating. Strangely, instead of surrendering, Butch keeps playing along, even threatening to kill Phillips if the police do not help him cross into Mexico. At the same time, an FBI agent takes position from a distance, aiming at Butch with a sniper rifle. Meanwhile, in an effort to persuade Phillips, the police bring his mother to the scene by helicopter. The moment Phillips sees her, he is ready to go back, but he hesitates. He is afraid of being scolded, especially since he is still wearing the Halloween costume. To ease that fear, Butch steps in and starts negotiating again. He promises to release Phillips on the condition that the police give the boy some candy and that his mother agrees not to be angry with him. Before letting him go, Butch even gives Phillips some money so he can finally buy the things he has always dreamed of. After they reach an agreement, Phillips is allowed to walk toward the crowd. At the same time, Butch tries to escape with what little strength he has left. But halfway through, Phillips suddenly changes his mind. He becomes worried about the man who has been with him all this time. Instead of running away, he wants Butch to surrender so his injuries can be treated. This moment confuses everyone. Even Red begins to suspect that Butch never intended to harm the boy. To confirm it, he takes a bold step and approaches Butch alone. And sure enough, Butch admits that he never had a weapon from the beginning. He is now ready to give himself up. There is just one thing he wants to do first. He wants to give Phillips a final parting gift. But as he reaches into his pocket, the sniper who has been watching from a distance misinterprets the movement as a threat. A shot is fired. The sudden gunshot sends Phillips into hysteria. His mother tries to calm him down, but he keeps crying out for Butch. Before the officers pull him away, Phillips manages to grab the last gift, a postcard that once belonged to Butch's father. On the other side, Red is furious with the FBI agent who made the call to shoot. If they had just waited a little longer, none of this would have happened. He is overwhelmed with regret. believing that he played a part in everything that led to this moment. If he had not convinced the judge to extend Butch's sentence all those years ago, things might have turned out very differently. In the final moments, Phillips and his mother are taken away by helicopter, and somehow it feels as if Butch, even in death, finds peace, knowing that at least in the end, he managed to grant one of Phillips' wishes. So the moral of the story is sometimes the only person who truly understands a broken child is someone just as broken. But by the time they finally find each other, life is already too late to fix what was missing.